I'm Reverend Levity, and welcome to my shadow integration ceremony. Y'all, if you know me, you know that shadow work is my absolute jam. And this actually came to me, I ate an edible the other night, let's be real. And I was taking a bath, and then all of a sudden, this whole concept came to me. And then once I had the idea in my mind, I knew that I couldn't go back. So tonight, I'm not just going to be doing my own ceremony, which I would be doing on the new moon anyway. I'm actually going to be teaching you the elements to creating a really great new moon ceremony, a really great shadow ceremony. You can watch and enjoy and just symbolically take in all of the blessings, or you can actually do everything yourself. This video will be available for playback. So even if you're not able to join us live, you can always join us later. So right now, I'm actually going to an open sacred space. Normally, I would stand up and face all of the directions. So you're welcome to stand up and face all of the directions. I'm actually going to stay seated because I have my studio lighting set up, and I just want to be able to face the microphone and make sure that everyone can hear me clearly. If at any point throughout the ceremony you have any questions, please feel free to comment. I'll try to catch up to them as quick as I can. Hi, everyone. I want to say hi to everyone individually, but I'm just going to keep going. So feel free to close your eyes and join me in creating sacred space. You can imagine all of these words blessing the space that you're in as well. And like I said, you can stand up and face all of the directions if you want. It's so vulnerable to do this live on Facebook. I actually am kind of like, oh my god, I can't believe I went live from my own page accidentally. But here we go. I can start by opening sacred space. I call upon the winds of the south, Sachamama, great serpent, water boa. Come and wrap your coils of love around this space. Teach us to shed our past the way that you shed your skin. Teach us to walk belly to belly, heart to heart, gently on the earth. Show us what it means to be in a symbiotic relationship with Pachamama. To not just take, but to walk in balance and to give. To honor our reptilian past, but to do so in a space of heart-centeredness. Aho. I call upon the winds of the west, O Tarango, Sister Mother Jaguar, she who walks between worlds. Teach us the way to be shaman, to always have one foot in both worlds at all time, to stand integrated in the balance between the shadow and the light, to know that death is nothing but another rebirth. Teach us to walk between worlds without fear. Teach us to be one within ourselves, to transcend duality by becoming one in the center of the light and the dark. Aho. To the winds of the north, Sewa Kinti, royal hummingbird, come, join this space. Remind us what it's like to be light, to travel far distances with nothing but fairy magic. Remain inside of us, our childlike wonderment. Remind us to play and to take the gravity that feels so heavy and to make it light again. Give us wings so that we can play. Aho. To the winds of the east, condor, eagle, help us to rise high above our story. Help us to remain the witness. The 10,000 things, they rise and fall, the Tao says, but the self watches their return. The self with a capital S, help us to be that self. Watching the story, playing in it, but not identifying with it. Help us to learn the lessons of Earth School in a way that we can dip down, scoop up the medicine, and then rise right back up with spirit. Allow us to keep our wings strong. Aho. Pachamama, Mother Earth, Grandmother, you are the representation of the divine feminine in physical form. You birthed all of us. Help us to learn to recycle the way that you recycle. Help us to learn and remember that nature is the head bitch in charge. Help us to honor you and forgive us for our trespasses. Wash us clean in your waters. Heal our lungs with your air. Help us to live in balance and to be creationists in the creationist cycle. Life, death, life, death. You are the divine representation of the 3D. And help us to be here in a way that remembers the higher dimensions simultaneously. Aho. Grandfather Sky, the great protector, the sacred masculine, wrap us in your loving, strong embrace. Remind us who's in charge, but remember that we want to be loved. Remind all of us that we can be masculine and gentle and nurturing and strong at the same time. Help us to find the balance between emotions and witness. Help us to rise high above our dark valleys by standing on the peaks of the mountains where all the great spiritual events have taken place. Rise us up there now. Aho. And to the within, Ahea, Ashura, Ahea, I am that I am, the great mystery, the self that's showing up, the one who's looking in the mirror, the thing that exists at the center of the eye of the storm, the thing at the center when the Sufis spin, the thing that is not spinning, the unmoved mover. I'm so honored that you chose us to do this work and to know your way in this lifetime. Help us to show up in the way that our higher selves have designed in the pre-existence. Help us to be a channel. Lord, thy will, the highest will of the highest God in the universe, your will only be done. Aho. And to the power of the new moon, the representation of the divine feminine in the lunar cycle. Brothers and sisters, we return to the void where all shit is created. Man, it's so funny that our society is this patriarchal lady smashing place, because the divine feminine, the darkness, the ultimate shadow, that is where all the magic is. Maybe there's a reason they keep the women down, because they know we've got all the magic. So I call upon and bless Sister New Moon. Help us to return to the darkness within ourselves, be in this space and in the space of everyone watching, and help us to manifest a healing magic, but only the magic that is in alignment with the will of God, which we cannot know. And so I surrender anything else that tries to manifest it, be washed away karma free. Okay. So this is officially going to be the most millennial shit I have ever said. But if you have any sage, go ahead and burn it. And if not, allow my digital sage to cleanse your space. Go ahead and let it in, wafting through the internetal airwaves and into your space. Digital sage. I could make a killing. I'm glad you all think I'm funny. Okay, so cleansing, sage. Here's sage for you all. La la la. Okay, welcome to my new moon ceremony. Thank you for joining me. So, open sacred space. So hopefully you all watched my shadow video, because I don't want to spend any time going through the metaphysics of the shadow here. So if you haven't, go check out the video, How Am I a Virus? That's going to explain the metaphysics of the shadow and why I believe that shadow work could not just change the experience you're personally having during this really psychedelic event, pandemic event, but it could potentially change the entire reality that we're all calling in right now. So please go watch that. It's like 13 minutes if you haven't seen it. It's so wild to be living through a natural disaster, because I think of what's happening right now very much like a tornado or a hurricane or a flood, except it's flooding the entire world. So normally natural disasters are located to one place, one event, that if you're blessed enough to not be a part of, you just watch from afar and you're like, wow, that's terrible. Let me donate to the Red Cross, like whatever, or it devastates your entire reality. But right now, everyone's entire reality is being devastated. The structures are crumbling. Shit's getting really interesting. And so in shadow work, what we do is we go within and we look at the parts of ourselves that we have disowned. Now, the universe wants to be whole, and this is a universe of shadow and light equally. They need each other to exist. But we live in a light worshiping culture, and so a lot of us, the Western philosophies especially, a lot of us are really uncomfortable with the idea that shadow is something to be honored and blessed. And so those of us that worship the light, we actually end up calling in a lot of shadow. And I think that's part of what's happening right now, is that we are manifesting what we're doing to the earth. We are the virus on the earth. This isn't news. We give more than we take. We take more than we give, and that's what makes us a virus on this earth. And so I think that Pachamama is, first of all, reminding us who the head bitch in charge is, and secondly, is metaphorically showing us what we're doing to her. And so we've acted like a virus to her, and so she's like, bam, here's a virus. And I actually don't care if you're a conspiracy theorist and you think that this virus was created. To me, it doesn't matter whether this virus came out of nature or was created by man, because that's still the divine spirit working through us to create a metaphor. So when we do our shadow work, we look at what we're experiencing in our lives and we try to assess what must I have disowned in myself in order to call this forth. And the reason I love this work is because it's the ultimate stepping into personal responsibility. So it takes you completely out of victimhood, and it says, I called this into my life, so let me take a look at what I've disowned in myself and see if I can integrate it. I explained in shadow work, we don't heal and we don't let go. That's a total new age thing. Just let it go. No, we don't let it go. We integrate it. Because if you try to heal something, you're trying to get rid of something, and the universe wants to be whole. It's just going to call more of it back into you. So, of course, I got to go get one piece of paper. Don't go anywhere. So I did something really interesting today. And I actually, when I went into meditation to look into my own viral nature, I started by Googling the definition of virus. So I searched the definition of virus. And this is what I found. A harmful or a piece of code which is capable of copying itself and typically has a detrimental effect, such as destroying or corrupting data. Damn. So I asked myself, when in my life have I been a harmful or corrupting influence? And when have I been a piece of code that has maybe copied myself by maybe trying to get others to be like me? And when have I had a detrimental effect, such as destroying or corrupting the space that I was in? Y'all, we're about to go there. Get ready, get your popcorn, get your tea, smoke some weed, whatever you want, because we're about to go there. Oh, by the way, I'm the shaman that curses, so get the fuck used to it. Okay. So confession is one of the most powerful shamanic tools. It's a tool of the alchemist, and it's great for shadow work, and I'm going to tell you why. Because In shadow work, we're taking that which has been buried in the unconscious mind, aka the darkness, and we're integrating it by bringing it to the light. And confession literally does that. That's what it does. So the point of this work is not to move into fear, self-loathing, or judgment, or shame. Because the ego will, at every turn, try to prevent you from seeing all of your toxic or dysfunctional qualities, okay? So that's denial. I don't do that. You'll look at somebody, judge them, and be like, I don't do that. And that's your ego trying to prevent you from seeing yourself in them. But occasionally, something slips through. Maybe somebody just straight up tells you, or there's some kind of event that it's revealed that you are that kind of way. And so the ego, in an attempt to be like, shit, I failed at my job from keeping you from seeing this thing. So now what I'm going to do is make you feel really fucking bad about it. Don't give in to that temptation. So while I am telling you the ways in which I'm a virus, I'm going to attempt to hold compassion and grace for myself. It's hard. Having you guys here helps me. And try to not move into judgment and shame, but it's really fucking vulnerable. Okay. So I am a virus because I use more than I give back. So I mean that from just as a human walking on this earth, I tend to take from Mother Earth. But I can't say I spend that much time giving back. Now, what does it mean to give back? Maybe that means picking up litter. Maybe that means sitting in meditation and giving her Reiki. Maybe that just means giving fucking gratitude. Either way, I can tell you right now, I take more than I give. I am a virus. I purchase fast fashion. We know for a fact, like Ross Dress for Less, Rodi for L, that's my go-to store. And basically any of those cheapy shopping places, we know that fast fashion is, I don't have any statistics right now, but we know fast fashion is a major cause. Slave labor is involved, child labor is involved. There is a reason that shirt costs $10 at H&M, okay? And we also know that it's terrible for the environment because you're buying new clothes, you're wearing it for a season, and then you're dumping it, and it's piling up in thrift stores or going to dump yards. I'm a virus. I use oil and gas unconsciously. Again, so when you're doing this, the ego is going to be like, but, la, 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 la. So I right now want to be like, but my family of 3 only has 1 car and we bike most of the time and da, 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 da. No. The point of this work is to find humility. The medicine is in the humility. And so the ego is going to do the but game and the comparison game and the, well, I could be so much worse game. That's not where the medicine is. And I'm not even saying that you have to change all of this shit. Because a lot of the stuff I get is, well, it's not like, I mean, we have to live our lives. It's not like I can't drive a car. Again, I'm not saying don't drive a car. I'm saying take this into ceremony and be able to sit with the fact that you are a virus. You don't have to change it. You just need to have the humility to acknowledge it. So I use oil and gas unconsciously. I am a gas unconsciously. I am a virus. I don't take time to learn how my actions affect people on the other side of the world. So it takes a fair amount of It takes a fair amount of cognitive dissonance in order to live in the modern American world. So in order for me to get up every day and live my rather mundane, privileged life, I have to actively disengage from the way that my behavior affects the underprivileged, whether that's in my own community or on the other side of the world. And I don't take the time in order to learn what that actually is. So I know for a fact that eating meat increases your carbon footprint by 63%. I just learned that fact recently, and here I was eating meat unconsciously. I give in order to get, meaning I give with agenda. So, you know, I'd like to think that sometimes I give without expectation, but a lot of times I find that I'm giving because I want you to like me, I want you to think I'm a good person, I want the compliment, I want the gratitude. I want to see your reaction. I want you to give me something. I want to be seen as helpful. I want to be seen as important. I want to be seen as necessary. And I want to have value in a space. And so I give in order to get something. I am a virus. I participate in an unfair capitalist system that benefits me. I am a virus. I blame other people for my own unhappiness. So this is a part of our codependent culture, and a lot of times we find that's just kind of bred in us. Like, we were blamed for other people's unhappiness, so then when we're unhappy, we can't even hold that, so we blame other people. Very viral habit. I am a virus. I could do an entire video on that. I eat meat. I already talked about that. So then going back to the definition of virus, a harmful or corrupting influence. There are times in my life now, as I mentioned in the tutorial video, the subconscious mind doesn't know the difference between the past and now. And so you might have shadow work to do around something that happened 20 years ago. It doesn't really matter. It's still just as powerful. And so for the ways that I'm a corrupting influence, which is the definition of virus, I have participated in mean girling someone that I didn't like. I have been a corrupting influence. I am a virus. I definitely did that as a kid, and I have definitely done that as an adult. So I could go into more examples there, but I'm trying to keep this under 20 minutes. I have been a harmful or corrupting influence. I have spread gossip just because it's delicious or it benefited me to spread that gossip. I have been a corrupting influence because I have wished for or reveled in someone else's failure. I'm a virus. I show up in spaces with expectations of how my needs should be met. I'm a virus. Corrupting, so a virus is defined as something that corrupts data, aka lying. The average person lies 400 times a day. That might just be, I told you that I liked your outfit when I didn't. That just might mean I told you I'm happy to be here when I wasn't. Or it could just be straight up, I have altered details in order to make me look good, in order to manipulate you to get something that I wanted. I have lied. I am a virus. I've given or done something when I didn't have it to give or didn't want to. And so our culture, what I mean by that is our culture really emphasizes you give beyond your means. And so especially, that's what friendship is. Friendship means giving even when you don't want to. Showing up at someone's thing even when you were tired and wanted to go home. No. When you give, when your cup is empty and you give anyway, that is a viral behavior. It's a codependent behavior. I have done it. You have done it. We are viruses. So one way that you create shadow is that you reject equality in yourself. So that's what I've just been going through. Another way that you can create shadow is simply by judging something. So again, the universe wants to exist as whole inside of you, both light and dark. The energy of judgment separates. It says, this thing is bad, I don't want to be bad, and therefore it's out of here, right? And then the universe is going to bring you a person or a situation with that quality to be like, yo, bitch, it's a great. And so for this final piece, I looked at how I judge viruses as bad. So I've judged viruses as quote unquote bad without acknowledging the bias of my own point of view. And so take a computer program, for example, and so you're running a program, in comes a virus, and it shuts your computer down, and you have to get a new computer. It ruined the program you were running, and you're like, oh, this virus was bad because it destroyed the thing that I was using. But what if the thing that you were using was corrupt and hurting other people? Is that virus bad? Or is it just bad because it inconvenienced you? I've manipulated people and situations in order to gain power or just to feel good. So this is back to the ways that I have corrupted data. Y'all want to know why I'm funny? Well, I'm funny because that's how I used to get people to like me. And that is a manipulative tactic. It might be benevolent. Maybe that's what my ego told myself, like, oh, it's benevolent, and therefore it's okay because people are laughing. No, it's coming from a sick, dysfunctional, agendaed place, and therefore it is viral. I am a virus. And finally, back to this definition, a harmful or corrupting influence. My presence has just been unhealthy. I mean, there was a time in my life where I didn't love myself and I didn't know that I didn't love myself. And so therefore, everywhere that I showed up and everything that I participated in was coming from a place of me needing to get love from those people, from that situation, from that organization, and my mere being in that space, not loving myself and having that need meant I was acting from a place of need, which is just an unhealthy place to show up from. And it's viral. It destroys organizations and structures, and it destroyed one of the dearest organizations that I've ever been a part of in my life. Granted, I wasn't the only virus in that situation, but I was definitely one virus in that situation, and that's been huge for me to look at the way that I was showing up from an unloving place, attempting to get love. That's very viral. And we live in a codependent culture where everyone does that. Also, I'm like out of breath, and I'm like, oh my God, am I having trouble breathing? Do I have the Rona, or am I just like on a roll right now? Okay. Thank you for coming to my confession. My heart is like ding, 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 ding. So that's how I am a virus. So now I'm going to show you, I invite you to look at the ways in which you're a virus. I would love it if people actually posted on social media, but I know that's a huge step. Some people have just been sending their answers to me privately. So the 3 questions you want to ask yourself is, how am I a virus? How have I been a virus at some point in my life? And how do I judge viruses? You can also ask yourself, how have you been these 2 things? Jot down your answers in a quiet, meditation time in your journal or whatever. If you don't want to share them with me, that's totally fine. If you do post on social media, make sure to hashtag Alchemist Movement. But one really powerful thing you can do is create an altar. And for shadow work, I like to create an altar called a Mandorla. So this goes back to ancient times. And the Mandorla, a lot of times people create an altar and it's light biased. So here's an altar with all of my crystals and my sage and my favorite angel cards and pictures of everyone that I love and all of my ancestors and blah, 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 blah. That altar is going to have the effect of calling in shadow to try to balance itself because it's an altar of all light. So the Mandorla is actually supposed to be a Vesica Pisces, aka a Venn diagram. And so one part of the altar is all shadow, things and that symbols, talismans that represent shadow, and then the other side is light. And then in the center is where you want to put what needs the healing. So I'd love to do these giant on the floor, and then I actually stand in this part right here, the vaginal opening. Sorry for all the gay boys watching. I know Jetson's like, I am not standing in no vaginal opening. This is where the healing takes place. So if you can do it on your floor, I love to take crystals and make giant circles and then stand in the center and confess all of the things that I need to confess. But you can also just do it on an altar, even if you can't make a circle or whatever. You just do all of the shadow talismans on one side, all of the light on the other. So let me take you on a little tour over here. So this is a little altar that I made for this new moon. So I'm not going to go and explain everything, but this is my shadow side. So these are symbols and things that represent my shadow. So you see weapons and everything on here has a backstory that I'm not going to explain, but I can tell you it represents my shadow. And over here is everything that represents my light. And then what I like to do is take my confessions, and I will actually, these are my I am a virus, and I'll actually leave these up here in the center, in the middle, in the Mandorla, the vaginal opening right here in the center. I'll leave these overnight, and in the morning, or maybe in a couple hours, whatever, I'll actually do a new moon fire, and then I'll burn it all, because you want to let that shit go. Trust that it's integrated. Trust that you did your work. The first thing you will notice is a shift in your own consciousness and a shift in your own emotional space. So you will be less triggered, less angry, and less out of balance. The next thing you're going to notice is a shift in the reality. So the thing that you manifested will either magically go away, or there will be some kind of transformation in the relationship. Yeah, so it's a win-win. So at this time, I'd like to change. Judson commented, "Give me the vaginal opening, I'm ready." I never thought I would hear him say that, but that is how committed that queen is to his shadow work. And I applaud you, Judson. I applaud you. So at this time, I just want to know if there are any questions. A lot of times there's a lot of misunderstanding about what shadow is and what shadow work is, and your girl will tell it like it is. So if you have a question, there's like a 20-second delay here. Here, we can start my altar. I know my husband's downstairs waiting to come up with the baby, so. Oh, one thing I did want to talk about is, so this is my offering because I was going to do it anyway, and I love to teach this stuff, but if you wanted to tip me, there's a link on Alchemist Movement's website, alchemistmovement.org. Go to Virus Ceremony, and at the bottom there's a link there. You can also, I'm going to type it in the comments here, you can find me on Venmo, and you can hit me up on PayPal. So if you wanted to tip me for this ceremony or anything that I taught you today, that'd be greatly appreciated, because yo girl has lost all of her contracts for the foreseeable future. But I am not afraid. I know that Spirit is taking care of me, and it just shifted my creativity from all of the in-person live work I was doing to more virtual. Okay, so it doesn't look like anyone has any questions. Okay, that's it. If you have any questions and you want to hit me up later, please do. Again, if you want to post your shadow confessions publicly, go ahead and do so. #AlchemistMovement. But also, you can send them to me privately. I'd love to give you feedback if you want feedback, or I can just smile and nod and tell you good job. That's totally up to you. So right now, I'm just going to close sacred space. This would be much quicker than opening. Thank you, Sachamama, for helping us to shed and release all that is no longer serving us. Aho. Thank you, Otarango, for helping to guide me into the part of myself that I have kept buried for a very long time. I am humbled. Aho. Thank you, Sewa Kinti, for teaching me and reminding me and being here tonight and reminding me to laugh and to always maintain my cosmic giggle. Aho. Thank you, Eagle, for helping me to see always the bigger picture. It's not about me. Aho. Thank you, Pachamama, for being the space in which I get to experience this thing called life. Aho. Thank you, Father Sky, for looking down. Aho. And thank you to the self that continues to show up and do the work. Aho. And thank you to my brothers and sisters online who held space while I did that really powerful work. I cannot thank you enough. You held that space for me, and it provided a huge healing. Confession is such a powerful tool of the alchemist. I want to thank you so much, and I want to thank the new moon for taking us into her belly so that we could be reborn. Thank you guys for watching. I'm going to comment really quick right here, alchemistmovement.org. If you want to learn more about the alchemists, you can follow us, Alchemist Movement, on Instagram, also Home Slice Productions on Instagram. And if you're interested in any kind of shadow coaching, let me know, and we're going to make it. I am a virus.